everybody, JC here with another T&I toy review. And today's review is in association with MarvelousNews.com, your #1 news source for everything Marvel. And for today's review, we're going to take a look at the new Avengers Age of Ultron Avengers Headquarters modular playset from Hasbro. Now these sets are made for their 2.5-inch line of figures. So we've got the three different pieces, and again these fit together basically to form the Avengers Tower as seen in the movie. So we've got set number 1, which is the Hulkbuster breakout set. Then we have set number 2, which is the Captain America Tower Defense set. And then the third and final set is the Iron Man Lab Attack. So the front of the packaging on these, you've got the Avengers Age of Ultron logo, and then you got some pretty cool artwork for each set. You know, the Hulk breakout shows the Hulkbuster facing off against the Hulk, and then the Captain America Tower Defense shows some artwork of, you know, Captain America on his motorcycle going up against Ultron. And then the Iron Man Lab Attack shows Iron Man and Ultron facing off. So then on the side of the packaging it shows a breakdown of how each set fits into the overall play set and gives you a picture of them all combined to form the Avengers headquarters. And then finally on the back of the packaging we have looks at the actual play sets and the figures that come with each of the play sets. And then it shows off the little action features for each play set. And then again we have an image showing all of them combined to form the Avengers headquarters. Okay, so let's get these open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the Hulk breakout set outside of the packaging, and as you can see there is some assembly required, including a decal sheet. So we'll get this put together and take a look at it a little bit closer. Okay, so here's a look at the playset, the Hulk breakout playset, fully assembled with the decals. You can see that the set comes with 2 figures. It comes with the Hulk and the Hulkbuster Iron Man. And the figures themselves, the Hulk stands about 3 inches tall, and then the Hulkbuster is about 4 inches tall. Now my main problem with this line is I don't mind necessarily a smaller scale. It's not like, oh well, I collected one scale, I can't collect another. You know, scales for figure lines change all the time. But my biggest problem with these figures is that they just lack any kind of real detail or articulation. You know, they're kind of just a step above army men basically. And so that's my main gripe about these this smaller line of figures and playsets. I like the idea of the playsets and everything, but you know, I just wish that we had a little more detail, maybe a little more articulation with the figures. The Hulk, basically he can move his arms and he can move his legs, and that's it. Oh, and he can actually turn his head a little bit. So, but that's it. And then the Hulkbuster, all he can do is move his arms. You can swivel his arms, and that's it. No other articulation on the Hulkbuster. And again, the detail on him is just not that great. You know, there's like 2 paint apps on the Hulkbuster. There's kind of, or I guess 3. There's the red. Most of it's all red, and you got a little gold on the mask, and then there's silver there in the middle for his arc reactor, and that's it. No peg holes on the bottom for Hulkbuster. He does have a hole on the back, and I'll show you what that's for in just a minute. And then the Hulk has 1 peg hole on the bottom of his foot. So the playset itself, it measures about maybe a little over 10 inches in width, and then between 6 and 7 inches in height. So it's not a huge playset by any means. In fact, I would say the figures are maybe a little bit too big for the scale. Hulk, I guess, fits in okay, but the Hulkbuster Iron Man seems a little bit too big. So anyway, the gimmicks for the playset itself, not including the, you know, attaching it with the other 2 to create the Avengers Tower. But you've got this cage for basically the Hulk, and you can put the Hulk in there, and there's several pegs for the 1 peg hole. Now one thing I do want to note is you can notice, you'll see here on the floor for the cage, it's kind of sunk in. So, and they've only given him 1 peg, so he doesn't quite stand, and the pegs aren't tight, terribly tight. So because the floor is kind of not really even, it's hard to get him to stand straight up. And again, the pegs don't do a whole lot. It kind of help a little bit, but you see he falls over pretty easily. So I don't know why they made the floor, why they didn't make the floor flat. It would have been better for standing the Hulk up in his cage. But so basically the idea is you put him in the cage there, and then if you want him to essentially break out, this is a button essentially right here on the front, and you just push it and all the walls fall like Hulk's breaking out. Now the other gimmick that this thing has is a zip line for the Iron Man. Now again, this kind of is a little corny to me, because basically the idea is you can detach this piece of the playset. It just clicks in. There's a little hole on the bottom, and so you're supposed to essentially, and it's got this zip line that you can pull out, and so basically you're supposed to hold it off essentially, and then do the string down. You can move this computer screen over in front of the Hulk cage. It's got a hole spot, so you can put it over here if you want. And then there's a little hole on the back of this piece that you hook that hook for the zip line into. And then you're supposed to hold this piece off to wherever, and then you basically, you see this little plastic piece here, and it's supposed to fit on that hole in the back of the Hulkbuster. And then there's a button on the back here, and so you push it. Oops, kind of hard to do this while keeping it on camera, and then you push it, and then you're supposed to zip down. And the rope is pretty long, so you can do it out a good distance. But the thing that's kind of corny about this is there's no place to put this. There's no like holes on the back, so you can't like hook it onto a wall or anything like that. So you essentially have to sit there and just hold it and do the figure. So to me that's kind of corny. They should have put a hole or something so you could attach it to your wall, or to some kind of surface, so that you could then do the zip line. If you've seen those Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle zip line play sets, they actually gave you a way to hook the one end up on your wall or what have you. Whereas on this one they didn't. So you essentially just got to sit there and hold it and have the figure kind of zip line down. So to me that kind of makes it a little bit on the corny side. Oh, and for your rope, when you want to pull it back in, you just use this little lever on the top and you roll it back in. And then when you want to click the actual zip hook thing, you've got to push the button, and there's a hole in the back, and you just snap it into place. And then when you're done, you can snap it back onto the playset. And you've got the backdrop's primarily supposed to be used when you're making the tower. It's just a cardboard piece, and you can see on the one side it's like green like the interior, and then on the outside it's like the windows like the skyscraper. And that just fits into a little there's a little groove in the back of the playset, and you just fit it in there. Okay, here's a look at the second set in this series. It's the Captain America Tower Defense, and once again you can see there is some assembly required once you get it out of the packaging, including a decal sheet. So let's get this together and we'll take a closer look. Okay, so here's a look at the Captain America Tower Defense set. And this is basically the mid-level piece for the Avengers Tower. And again, like with the Hulk breakout one, we've got a card backdrop that just kind of fits on the back. We've got a number of decals that you have to apply on this one. You're probably going to want a pair of tweezers if you really want to get the really tiny decals. And And then this one comes with 2 figures. So this one comes with an Ultron figure. And this Ultron figure stands just about 2.5 inches tall. And this figure really has no articulation at all. It is basically just a kind of like an army builder, you know, an army man type figure. So no articulation on this figure, unfortunately. It does have 1 peg hole in the bottom of his foot. And there's a number of pegs throughout. There's 4 pegs over here on this landing platform piece, and then there's a couple up here. So the gimmick, and then the other figure that, if you want to call it a figure, it comes with is Captain America on this motorcycle. And the Captain America is not removable, no articulation on the figure. So not a whole lot of detail on these figures. Again, you know, that's my biggest complaint about the scale, is the lack of detail and articulation on these figures. And it's got this little gun that'll shoot the thing off, and you just kind of pop it in there, and it hooks on this little knob. So the main gimmick for this particular playset is Captain America's on his motorcycle, and you can sit. As far as like the instructions go, they have him, Ultron, sitting here in the middle of this platform. Now there's no pegs in the middle, and trying to get your Ultron to really stand might take a little work. So they should have put a peg or something here in the middle. Though I guess they figured it might prevent him from being knocked over by the motorcycle. Well, I'm just going to set him off to the side. This figure does not stand very well without putting him on a peg. So, but the idea is you push this, you put the bike on this little spring gun thing, and you push this red button, and it shoots the bike through, and you're basically supposed to run into Ultron and knock him off. And then the other feature that this has is you've got this little disc shooter. And again, there's a little button on the back here that you push, and you just fire it. And it fires off pretty good. And it's just a plastic, looks kind of like Captain America's shield, but it's all red, so not a whole lot of detail on it. You just click it back into place. And then one final little detail, and this would be more of use when you have it attached to the other playset, because for this particular part, you know, you're going to want to have some space underneath it. But there's a little button over here, and you just push it and the floor drops out. I want to note, when we were looking at the Hulk breakout set, I told you about these little holes throughout the playset. It looks like those have been strategically placed throughout all the playsets, and basically it's so you can use this piece from the Hulk breakout set that I told you about with the skyline, and so it's basically there so you can hook the skyline onto various parts of the headquarters. Again, you still got to hold this piece wherever you want to use it from, because there's no way to like attach it to the wall or anything, but they've given you multiple spots basically to hook in so you can have your figures skyline into the headquarters. This playset measures about a little bit over 12 inches in length, and then just a little bit under 6 inches in height. Okay, so here's a look at the third module in this playset, Avengers Tower playset, the Iron Man Lab Attack set. And this one probably has the most pieces to assemble, little pieces. None of them are terribly difficult to put together. The biggest pain in the butt is putting all the decals on. But this one has the most pieces, I would say. This playset is also probably the longest one. It's about close to 12, maybe a little bit over 12 inches long. Actually, if you count out to the computer screen, it's actually about 15 inches in width. And then height-wise, it's about maybe just a little bit under 10 inches if you count the top of the backdrop. So this one has, again, pegs throughout, so you can stand figures throughout. It comes with 2 figures. It comes with Ultron, another Ultron figure. Now, this one does have a little bit of articulation. You know, you can move the legs and the arms and the head. So you've got, you know, that 5 basic points of articulation. Not a whole lot of paint detail. Just kind of a plastic gray for Ultron with some red sprinkled out, you know, red eyes and some red on his chest. And then Iron Man, again, same, basically 5 points of articulation. Not a whole lot of paint detail, basically just red and gold. A little bit of white for his eyes, but again, not a whole lot of detail. And again, just those 5 points of articulation. And each figure has 1 peg hole on the bottom of its foot. And these figures stand just under 3 inches. So, and Ultron's a little bit taller than Iron Man. So anyway, the action feature on this one is basically you can put, oops, I just kind of gave it away there, the floor drops away, but basically you put Ultron here on this little platform, and then you just push this lever, and these little walls are going to come up and enclose Ultron, and the floor will drop out. And again, when you have this attached to the other play sets, then he'll have somewhere to actually fall. And then I have another firing missile gun here at the top, and you've got some pegs here so you can stand figures, and you just push the button and it fires off. And then you got a little computer arm here. No articulation on this arm or anything. Okay, so now for the exciting part. So now we're going to take the 3 different play sets and we're going to put them together to form the Avengers Tower play set. So you start off with the Hulk breakout set, and you want to lift up these scaffolding pieces on the set. There's 4 in all. So again, this is the ground floor basically of the tower. And then next you're going to take the Captain America set, and there's some holes underneath on the bottom, and you're just going to match them up with these scaffolding pieces. And the trickiest thing about this is keeping the cardboard pieces in line and in there. So once you get the things lined up, you just kind of push down. Okay, so then once you have the Captain America set firmly attached, then you take the 3rd piece and you're going to match it up with these pegs here, and with this basically, and the holes are about the middle of the section, and you're just going to again match up the holes with the pegs and push it down. Okay, so here's a look at the play set fully put together, all 3 levels put together to form the tower. And you know, once you have them together, you know, the tower itself is pretty sturdy. The thing stands, if you count to the top tip of this backdrop, it stands just a little bit over 21.5 inches tall. But still, it's pretty good height. And you can see, you know, the figures for the most part look to be in pretty much scale. Hulkbuster is maybe a little bit on the large side, but otherwise I think the figures look, you know, these smaller figures look pretty good on the play set. You know, as good as these non-articulated, non-detailed figures can look. Now, if you're wondering if you can take your Marvel Universe / Marvel Infinite Series figures and put them on this play set, I would say technically the answer is yes. Especially with some of the areas like this platform up here, you can kind of get your figures and it looks okay. I don't know, you know, of course they're not really made for this scale, so you know, some areas they're going to look better than others. But I guess technically, like I said, if you wanted to stand, you know, pose some of your Avenger figures or something from the 4-inch line, you know, you could get away with it. I don't know if you want to spend the money on, you know, each of these sections costs about 20 bucks each, so if you wanted to complete the tower, it's going to cost you about 60 bucks. Now some of the action features definitely work better when you have the tower completed. So for instance, this floor drop area for the Captain America set, when you have it all together, is basically over the cage for the Hulk breakout set. So you can drop Ultron down into the cage. So that's pretty good. And even this floor drop feature up here at the top, you know, once you have it, you know, assembled, it's got some place to actually fall. Now, just one more thing I want to note about this playset. They technically say there's a fourth kind of I don't know if technically it's fourth piece, but kind of a fourth piece to this, and it's the Avengers Quinjet. It's a separate, you know, vehicle that you can buy. And basically they say you can set it on this kind of landing pad thing. Now to me, I didn't actually pick it up, but I was looking at it in the store, and to me it looks a little bit on the big side, so it doesn't, as you know, the Quinjet is not really to me in scale with the tower. So yes, technically I think you can set it on this platform if you want to, but I you know, I'm just not sure how good it is. But it is something they kind of bill as an extra feature, is you can have the Quinjet, you know, kind of land on this platform. So that's my review. Overall, you know, again, I'm not a huge fan of this scale because just the lack of detail and articulation on the figures themselves just kind of really take a whole lot away for me on this. I like the idea of the modular playset, and I think they actually, you know, did a pretty good job. I mean, obviously this is geared more towards kids than collectors, and even the detail, you know, again for what it is, I think isn't, you know, too bad. You know, it would be nice if Hasbro scaled this up just a little bit more and made it for the 4-inch figures. I would love to see, you know, them start doing stuff like this for Star Wars, the 4-inch line of Star Wars, or 3¼ inch line of Star Wars. You know, a Death Star playset like this is something I would, you know, when at toy fairs and San Diego Comic Cons and stuff, this is something that, you know, we've talked about with the Hasbro people a lot, you know, that this would be a cool idea and a way to do affordable playsets with these modules. I think it's a great idea, a great way to do cool playsets. I just wish they would scale it up, or either that or start putting more detail and articulation in these smaller figures. But as it is, the figures just kind of ruin it for me. So all 3 of these sections are out on shelves now. And again, they cost about $20 each, and you can pretty much pick them up anywhere that Avengers Age of Ultron toys are being sold. And that's my review. As always, you know, we'll have a full gallery of images of this over on marvelousnews.com. There's a link in the description below. And as always, you know, leave a comment, let us know what you think. If you're so inclined, please like the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. And until next time, I'll catch you later.